What if the greatest lie ever told began with a stolen corpse? A nameless man, washed ashore in Nazi-watched waters, carried secrets that changed the war. The truth behind his identity is stranger.
In the darkest hours of World War II, the Allies pulled off a deception so outrageous it completely altered the course of history. But what is the actual truth behind Operation Mincemeat?
It wasn't a traditional military triumph of tanks, bombs, or infantry, but a macabre, highly orchestrated theatrical performance starring a corpse. To save tens of thousands of Allied lives, British intelligence literally weaponized a dead man, plunging his body into the freezing waters off the coast of Spain to execute the ultimate deception.
By early 1943, the Allies were desperate to breach Hitler's fortress Europe. The obvious stepping stone was Sicily, but Winston Churchill knew it was a death trap, famously stating that anyone but a damn fool would see the invasion coming.
If they attacked Sicily directly, the heavily fortified German defenses would slaughter the invading forces. The Allies absolutely had to convince the German High Command that the real targets were Greece and Sardinia. They needed a decoy so convincing that Hitler himself would personally order his troops away from the true battleground.
Delivering false intelligence is incredibly risky. If the Nazis suspected a plant, the entire Sicilian invasion would be doomed. The solution came from an unlikely source, a young naval intelligence officer named Ian Fleming, the future creator of James Bond.
In 1939, Fleming contributed to the infamous Trout Memo, comparing enemy deception to the art of fly fishing. He proposed dropping a dead body dressed as an aviator, carrying fake secret documents near enemy lines. The bizarre catch? Fleming actually plagiarized the entire concept from a 1937 fictional detective novel written by Basil Thompson.
Intelligence officers Ewan Montague and Charles Chalmondale were tasked with making Fleming's fiction a reality. But they couldn't just use any fallen soldier. The body had to tell a very specific, medically bulletproof story to Nazi pathologists.
The fictional officer needed to appear as though he had died in a plane crash over the ocean and floated ashore. This meant the body had to show signs of hypothermia and drowning. They needed a corpse with fluid-filled lungs, a condition incredibly difficult to fake, leading them to scour London's hospitals and morgues for a suitable candidate.
A body washing ashore with top-secret documents would immediately raise German suspicions. To make the bait irresistible, the corpse couldn't just be a courier. He had to be a living, breathing human being with a past, a personality, and flaws.
They created Major William Martin of the Royal Marines, but a military ID wasn't enough. The spies spent weeks meticulously crafting his pocket lair. They gave him a fake nagging bank manager, complete with an angry overdraft notice for exactly £79, 19 shillings and 2 pence, ensuring he looked like a careless, authentic officer. MI5 clerk Jean Leslie provided a glamorous photograph of herself, which was carefully stuffed into the corpse's wallet. Another staffer, Hester Leggett, wrote passionate, agonizingly authentic love letters. They even included a real receipt for a £53 diamond engagement ring. Together, they built a complete, heartbreaking emotional universe around a man who never actually existed.
Major Martin was fully fleshed out, sealed into a steel canister packed with dry ice to halt decomposition, and loaded onto the submarine HMS Seraph. But dropping him blindly into the ocean was a massive gamble.
They deliberately targeted the coast of Huelva, Spain. Even though Spain was officially neutral, the British knew the town was crawling with Nazi spies. On April 30, 1943, the submarine surfaced, and the crew pushed Major Martin into the tide. The trap was sprung, carrying fake documents that boldly used the real Allied invasion codename, Husky, to point toward Greece. The body of Major William Martin washed ashore in Spain, carrying the greatest secret of World War II. But beneath the uniform, the love letters, and the fake invasion plans lay a much darker, closely guarded state secret. What is the actual truth about Operation Mincemeat? The man hailed as a savior of the Allied forces wasn't an officer. He wasn't a hero who died in the line of duty. The real story behind the corpse involves ethical breaches, theft,
and a desperate gamble that changed history. On April 30th, 1943, a Spanish fisherman spotted the corpse bobbing in the waves off the coast of Huelva. Spain was officially neutral, but heavily crawling with Nazi informants. Would the local authorities hand the briefcase over to the British or the Germans? The Spanish military recovered the body and the locked briefcase. While they formally notified the British Vice Consul, a sympathetic Spanish officer secretly tipped off the Abwehr, German military intelligence. The Nazis were frantic to see the contents, but they had to bypass official diplomatic protocols without leaving a trace. The briefcase contained a sealed envelope. If the British found the wax seals broken, they would know the deception was compromised and change their invasion plans. How did the Axis spies get inside? Spanish secret police used a specialized technique, rolling the letters tightly around a thin probe to pull them out through the envelope's flap. They photographed the documents detailing a fake invasion of Greece. But the operation was rushed. The unbearable stench of the rapidly decomposing body forced the coroner to bury Major Martin immediately. For weeks, London waited in agonizing suspense. The briefcase was returned to them, and microscopic tests confirmed the letters had been tampered with. But did the German High Command actually believe the forged documents, or did they spot the forgery? The code breakers at Bletchley Park intercepted and decrypted German Enigma communications. They struck gold when they translated a memo from Hitler himself, explicitly stating that the Allied attack would fall on Greece and Sardinia. Winston Churchill was famously cabled the message: "Mincemeat swallowed rod, line, and sinker." As the summer of 1943 approached, the Allies prepared to launch their massive armada toward their true target, Sicily. If the deception failed, hundreds of thousands of Allied soldiers would face a fortified, impenetrable wall of German artillery. What happened? Convinced by the dead man's documents, Hitler ordered an entire panzer division to relocate from France to Greece. He moved torpedo boats, aircraft, and vital reinforcements away from Sicily. When the Allies finally invaded, they met a fraction of the expected resistance. The campaign succeeded with drastically lower casualties, accelerating the fall of fascist Italy. For decades, the British public believed Major Martin was a real officer who died of pneumonia, volunteering his body for a noble cause. But the architects of Operation Mincemeat were hiding a much darker reality about where they procured their hero. MI5 officer Ewan Montague and coroner Sir Bentley Purchase needed a body that looked like it had drowned. They secretly scouted London's morgues for someone with no family who wouldn't be missed. The man they found was kept on ice in a mortuary refrigerator for 3 months before being dressed up for war. The greatest deception in military history rested on the shoulders of an unknown civilian. When classified files were finally unsealed, the official, sanitized story crumbled. Who was the man who actually deceived Adolf Hitler? He was Glyndwr Michael, a homeless Welshman who died after ingesting rat poison. British intelligence literally stole his unclaimed corpse because the poison mimicked drowning. They dressed him as an officer, planted the fake invasion plans, and dropped him off Spain. This elaborate ruse diverted Hitler's defenses from Sicily, altering the course of the war. His true identity and the ethical breaches behind stealing his body were covered up by the British government for over 50 years. For half a century, Glyndwr Michael lay in a Spanish cemetery under a tombstone bearing the name of a fictional soldier. He never volunteered to fight, and he died in absolute poverty. Does history remember his sacrifice? In 1998, the British government finally added an inscription to the grave in Huelva, Spain. It reads, "Glyndwr Michael served as Major William Martin. A man who had nothing in life became the most important soldier in the Allied arsenal in death, proving that sometimes the greatest heroes of war are the ones who never fired a shot." We started by asking, Operation Mincemeat, and the answer? The man who successfully deceived Adolf Hitler and saved tens of thousands of Allied lives during World War II was actually a homeless Welshman who died after eating rat poison. In 1943, British intelligence stole his unclaimed corpse, dressed him as a Royal Marines officer, and planted fake top-secret documents on his body before dropping him off the coast of Spain. If this changed how you see things, share it with someone who needs to hear it.